Hi everyone, hi friends. I am going to show you how to make one of these masks that are being sponsored by Project Protect Health, I think is what it is. And the reason I'm doing this tutorial is because I'm a nurse and I wear masks because of my profession. And so I just wanted to show you guys a few things that will help you make these masks. So this is a finished mask, you can see. Okay, if I were to fold it in half, if you line up the ties, they're not equal, and that's totally fine. That's how it should be, because when you put a mask on that have the ties, what happens is, hold on, let me think about this for a second. Okay, so what happens is the distance from your face to your head is longer than the distance from your chin to your neck when you're tying. So when you make the masks, you want to make sure that one side is shorter than the other, okay? And when you make the mask, you also want to make sure that they're equally distant, okay? That this tie and this length matches up with this section over here. You don't want it ski-wumpus. So, and then also when you're making the mask, making the folds, or what do they call them? The pleats. Oh my word, I can't believe I forgot that. When you make the pleats, you want to make them in a way where you're making space for the chin and the nose. Okay, so if you're making a pleat and you're unable to open this up to make excess space, then you've made your pleat wrong. But we're gonna go through that today. So, all right, starting out, the fabric. There is no right side or wrong side. So you just take a piece of fabric, you're gonna fold it in half, and you want the notches to all match up. Okay, so here I have my fabric. I folded it in half, and I'm going to make all these notches line up here. Okay, then I'm going to make a crease with my finger like this, and then I'm going to be sewing not the pleats, or sorry, not the notches. I'm going to be sewing right up here where there's a straight edge. Okay, and you want to do 1/4 inch of a stitch. And I'm not going to do a reverse stitch because I'm going to go back through and further steps and we're going to catch that seam. Okay, so now what you're going to do, cut off all the excess thread, and that's quite a bit of excess. Okay, you're going to take the mask and or the fabric, you're going to fold it inside out. Okay, and then what I do now is I'll just take my scissors and kind of open this, push on the seam a little bit so it's easier to fold or to press. Okay, so you're going to make sure that your notches line up again. You're going to fold it again, or just not fold, I guess, just put a crease in it. Okay, and you want your notches to match up. I don't know if you can see, but these notches all, there's one fabric, the second, the underneath part, and you want your notches all to line up again. Okay, so the pleats, now we're going to do the pleats. This is kind of where it gets tricky. I am calling this where I have made a seam, the bottom of my fabric. The part that does not have a seam is the top of my fabric. Okay, so these are labeled in the instructions as notch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can see a plateau right here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, you have your plateau, 4, 5, and 6. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take notch 1 and you're gonna line it up with notch 3, okay? You can think of them as you want them to kiss. So you're going to take notch 1, and then you're going to line it up to notch 3 like this, okay? And you want to make sure that it's the same on the other side, okay? Then what you're going to do is make a crease, okay? Now, this right here is notch 2. No, 1. Sorry, 1. So you're going to take this notch right here and you're going to fold the fabric back against it. Okay, so 1 and 3 kiss and then fold it back. Now what you're going to do is just, I don't have pins, so I've had to get creative and try to keep these pieces together. Okay, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to take, so here we have notch, that was notch 3, you're going to take notch 4 and you're going to join it up to notch 6. Okay, so I have notch 4, 5, and 6. So you're going to take notch 4 and align it with 6. You're going to make 4 and 6 kiss. So line it up. Okay, then you're going to make a crease and you're going to fold it over. And there you have your second pleat. Okay, now what you're going to do next is you're going to sew these pleats together. Just make sure the notches match up. Okay, and it honestly doesn't matter. You want like a 1/4 of an inch seam, but what you want to do is you want to catch this notch right here because that's going to keep your pleat together. So here I am catching that notch. We're going to do the same things going all the way down. Okay, and again, I'm not doing a reverse stitch because I'm going to go back through in another seam and we're going to catch that end. So we're going to do the same thing on this other pleat, or this other side here. Just a 1/4 of an inch seam. You want to make sure to catch your notches. I should have taken that out. Okay, trim up all your thread. Okay, so now the part for the ties. I'm just going to take my needle out. Okay, so again, I have the top part that does not have a seam and the bottom that has the seam. So right now I have the bottom on the right side and the top on the left side. You're going to take one of the ties, and the tie has a notch in the very middle. Right there, there's the notch, okay? What you're gonna do is you're going to fold it over and you're gonna line up the notches and you're gonna make a pleat, or not a pleat, excuse me, a crease just with your fingers. And do not try to iron this fabric. It might stick to your iron or it might melt it. This fabric is actually what they use in the operating rooms to wrap sterile equipment in, and that's how they've figured out that we can recycle this fabric and use it for masks. Okay, so again, here's my bottom where my seam is and my top. So if you remember with the mask how they're not even, they're not equally distant, okay, because this part will go over around the neck and this part will go over the head. And you want the over the head part to be longer than the neck part. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, this is my top, this is my bottom. We're going to go 1 inch down from this section, this top part, 1 inch down. You're gonna line up that notch 1 inch down, and you're gonna set it in there. This is like a binding is what you're making. Okay, and then you're gonna sew that on. And this is where I'm gonna do a reverse stitch because now I'm gonna be catching some seams. So we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay. So I have this backwards here. All right, this is my top. This is my bottom, because here's the seam that I made. So the seam is the bottom. You're gonna find that notch right there. Line up the notches. And just make a crease with your finger. Again, do not iron the fabric. Okay, and top, bottom, you're gonna go 1 inch below the top, about right there. You're gonna line up that notch 1 inch below. There's my notch. 1 inch below the top. Fold it over. Then you're going to sew it. And again, I will do a reverse stitch here just to catch my seams. Came out. Okay, friends, and you have a mask. That is how you do the Project Protect Health mask. Okay, so you want, again, if I fold it in half, you want one side that's a little bit shorter for the ties than the other side. Okay, and you can see that one is shorter and longer, and then, but you also want them, this side to be the same distance is over here. That way the medical professional will be able to tie them well. So, okay, now go be a superhero seamstress or seamsman. Bye.